Hello. How are you? I know it's weird. I'm so close, but I don't know why. Maybe I should find that out. Every time I come on, the light dims. So I have to go up there and turn the light back on. All right. Hello. Hello. How are you? Who's here? So I see Nancy. Good morning, Nancy. And Raina, good morning. Lynn, good morning. Stevie, good morning. Michael, good morning. So funny. Okay, 5. All right. All right. So how are you doing? How's everybody this week? It's getting nice and chilly here in Southern California, which I love. Oh my goodness, Nancy, I hear Hamilton. I knew he was going to bother us. So it's good that this is the beginning. He wants out. Oh, it's not even Hamilton. It's Willie. Come here. Willie. Come here, Willie. If I don't have my cats out, they're going to bug me this whole time. Come here, Willie. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Willie before. Come here. Come on, Willie. Sorry. It's just hard for me when they're outside my door. That's Willie. He's amazing. Come on, Willie. Okay. It's been a while since you've seen him because he comes with me in the other room that I teach in, and he doesn't come here very often. So anyway, all right, I'm going to go back here. All right. So today I really like to focus on awareness of our stabilizing or the structural aspect of us. So the core, pelvic floor in particular, core, pelvic floor, really softening up and loosening up the midsection of the body, because I think that really relates to a lot of what ends up ailing us in life. So hips and knees and low back are the joints that I really notice a lot of pain and suffering in with people, and even for myself, that's an area. So I really like to focus today on our core, our pelvic floor, just really going inside our body, feeling and noticing, creating stretch and strength so that we could stabilize ourselves, hold ourselves up. So I think that you'll enjoy today's practice. And my goal is always for you to learn about your own body so that you stand differently, move differently, and then also at the deeper layers, think differently throughout your day so that you could always be healthy and pain-free. So that's, confident to live life, to do all the things you want to do, and to be pain-free, because it's really hard to live a big life when you're in pain all the time or discomfort. All right, so for today's practice, we're going to need something to sit on, because I'm going to do some of the practice is going to be seated, so that when we use the weight of our upper body, we can really get a nice stretch in the midsection in the lower body. So either a pillow or something. This is actually kind of a little bit of a wedge shape here. I really like this cushion, probably a meditation cushion of some sort that I got somewhere. And then if you don't have a pillow or anything handy, a blanket will do as well. And then if you are pretty tight, the higher you elevate yourself, the more comfortable it'll be. And then we'll also need, I'm going to say to get a strap just in case I use the strap. Don't always get around to using the strap. Maybe today I will. A block is something that I use often in the practice. And then a blanket that's going to go behind your head. So get a blanket for behind your head. And I'd like to begin the practice today on the ground so that we can actually settle our mind and ground our mental energy. And it's up to you. You could have a blanket that's really thin. So the thinner, the smaller you fold your blanket, the more you're going to be able to do some posture work and start to get a little opening in the middle spine, the neck, and the shoulder joint area. And then if you want comfort and you're in a place right now where you really need to be comforted and you don't want to do any work yet, you want to slowly get into that place, then you can actually fold your blanket up a little higher. We will be using our block today to really get our mind connected to this. And then go ahead and put your seat or your extra seat or your pillow or whatever it is you have off to the side. And bring yourself onto your buttocks. And really paying attention to where you are mentally and emotionally, because the mental energy, we're really working with the mind when we practice yoga. And so noticing where you are mentally right now. So let's do a little rocking back and forth on your sits bones, on your pelvis, to kind of arrive here and ground our mental energy and really feel our way into our bodies, to move from the head to the body, side to side. And then even a little forward and back, rocking forward and back. So it is the pelvis I want you to feel. I want you to be right here on your bones and your pelvis as you rock forward and back and you rock side to side, feeling that part of you. And then noticing what comes up for you here when you're doing this. And then just to make sure you're awake, we're going to come into a little bit of some muscular work to just fire up everything in the mind and the body and really get that connection. So take your hands and bring your hands underneath your legs, and the elbows are out to the side. So I'm holding on like this, not like this. So really have this, elbows are out to the side. Walk your feet back a little bit closer to your body. Feel how you are on your pelvis. Do a little rocking action here. Now you're on the pelvis, and when you rock back a little farther, you go towards the tailbone. So feel that. Feel the tailbone and the sacrum. So let your mind be at the base of your spine. And maybe you feel the contraction of the core when you do this. And then I'd like you to bring yourself so your feet come off the ground. And your strength and how you feel at this moment will determine, are the feet a little lower? Are you able to get the feet higher? Do you need to hold on with your elbows out to the side, or would you like to explore taking your hands away? Really press your heart forward. Open your chest, lift your chest up, open your throat, lengthen your spine. So draw the lower ribs away from the top of the thighs so you're nice and long in your torso. And then go ahead and bring your hands there. Notice how challenging that is to bring that flexion into the knees, into the hip flexors, and to challenge the hip flexors in the core in that way. And that got you into your body, I'm sure. Bring yourself to the side. Let's come all the way down onto the ground. So the physical practice of yoga has many benefits. And the Navasana, the boat pose we just did, has the benefits of strengthening your muscles, your bones, your joints. And it also has the ability to bring you into your body because it's so challenging and you feel all that's happening there. So let's take your feet and your fingers and wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And then it's up to you. If you'd like to come with straight legs, you could straighten your legs all the way out, spread them a little bit, or you could have your knees bent here. And if your knees are bent, have your feet a little wider than your body and allow your knees to fall in towards each other. So beginning the practice in a place of relaxation. Feeling the base of your spine, the sacral area, connected to the floor, connected to the ground. And then think of the word grounding, which is bringing yourself here, grounding your mental energy, bringing yourself here, bringing yourself to the present moment, away from the future and away from the past. Then I'd like you to take your arms and press your arms into the ground so that you lift your rib cage away from the ground. So press the middle of your head and your arms into the ground. Lift your
chest up and away from the ground, and slide the shoulder blades closer towards each other so that the flat shoulder blades move to the ground. Notice how that feels. So that's a way to get a little postural correction. And then the blanket, you've either chosen to have a very thin fold or no blanket at all, which will be a little helpful for correcting posture. Or you may want to be more relaxed right now and not do too much work, and have your head supported quite a bit with a thicker fold. So choose what you'd like, and then whatever you've chosen, lift your head up a little bit, slide your chin towards your chest, feel the back of your neck getting nice and long, and then place the center of your head down on the ground. And feel those points of connection. Center of the head, shoulder blades, sacrum. And then it's up to you if you'd like to bring your hands to your belly, or you could bring your block onto your belly. So for a reference of feeling movement in the belly, you're either going to place the block there, or you could place your hands on the belly. And if you use the block, let your hands be down on the ground, palms up towards the sky. And then when the palms are up towards the sky, let the elbows stay where they are. Don't lift your hands up. Just rotate your palms to go down. So that was setting the shoulder joint up for a little external rotation with the palms up. And then we put the palms down, because the palms down actually give us more access to our lungs when we breathe. Close your mouth, let your back teeth be separated, breathing in and out through the nose. And start to connect to your breath. Nice long neck, feel the back of the head supported, shoulder blades supported, sacrum and tailbone supported. This is you plugging in, like recharging the phone at night, recharging the batteries. This is you recharging you. Focusing on your breath, supporting your spine, using the ground and gravity to ground your mental energy, to balance the nervous system, the cardiovascular system, stimulate, healing, repairing, restoring. Bring your awareness to your block and begin to bring the breath deep into your lower body, lower lungs. So you feel the block move. And then so you feel a really big stretch in your belly. When your mind gets distracted, bring your mind back to the breath, feeling the block move or feeling your hands move. So I'd like to add a little counting. I'm going to do Suka Pranayama, a breath of peace. It's an even count on the inhale and on the exhale. I'm going to start with the number 4, and I'm going to move up to the number 6. Let's prepare by taking an exhale. Begin. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. 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 Adding on, inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Adding on, inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Count to yourself in your mind on your inhale and on your exhale. If you get distracted, bring yourself back to counting, back to feeling, back to connection with the mind, the body, the breath. Finish the breath you're on. Take 3 more breaths like that. Counting your breath on the inhale, counting your breath on the exhale, staying connected, mind, body, breath. The breath is the connector between the mind and the body. Finishing the last breath. Give the breath back to the body as you begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. If you have a block on your belly, take the block off to the side. And then draw the knees in one at a time towards your chest, rocking side to side. Every time you could stay in the present moment and use your brain for something like counting, which is so simple, yet it's in the part of the brain that requires involvement by you. And it takes us away from the part of our brain that either subconscious or unconscious or invisible, the part of us that is always ruminating, and it brings you to the present moment. And when we do that, we actually stop a lot of unhealthy processes in our body. When our mind has a mind of its own, often the thoughts are of the past or the future, and they are stimulating or triggering fear or scarcity. And it's actually protective, and it's how we got to where we are today, because all of our ancestors survived by being aware of what they needed for the future and what they needed to either remember from the past or grow and learn from the past. Yet it's so important to be present moment, because that's where we do a lot. The body can do a lot of its innate deep healing. So that's Suka Pranayama, and even inhale, even exhale. And when you occupy your mind with counting, then you have more to focus on and less to let happen on its own. So let's stretch our buttock area and our low back area here. We're going to take the right ankle over the left ankle. So the right ankle goes over the left, and try to let your feet go away from each other. And then lift your head up, reach around the outside of your body to take a hold of the feet. If you're able to do it pretty easily, put your thumb in your arch and your hand on the top of your foot, and then go ahead and let yourself come back down. And if you're not able to reach your feet, you could reach the shin on either side, like the right would grab the right shin, the left would grab the left shin, trying to point the kneecaps diagonally away from each other, and then drawing the knees closer to your body. So you press your legs into your body. That presses the low back to the floor. The right leg is on top of the left leg, so the left side body is pressing to the floor a little bit more. So roll slightly off center to the left. So you're not too far to the left. You're not really tipping up here. You're just putting more pressure on the left side. And once you get there, you're going to rock back and forth, side to side, not very big. And then maybe you feel the buttocks stretch here. Maybe you feel low back. Just whatever it is you feel, a nice gentle stretch. Bring yourself back to center. Let's uncross the legs and take the left leg over the right leg. And then you could reach up, because when you lift up, it gives you a little bit more access. Feet are pulling away from each other. Thumbs are in the arches. Hands are on the top of the foot. If you have that much bendability and range of motion in your joints, so the knee and the hip here are the joints that need to bend. And for some of you, that's a challenge. And if you have your kneecaps pointing out to the side versus straight behind you, then you'll get maybe a little bit more range of motion in your knees as your hips move into that position. It seems interesting to me that that's the case, and it is the case. So for those of you with limited range of motion in your knees, when you could find external rotation in your hip, it gives you a little bit more access. It's not that, straight up and down front of the joint flexion that can be so painful for those with knee issues. And then now you're going to the right, and you're going to do a little bit of side to side when you're at the right to gently massage the lower back. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's take the legs in the air, the arms in the air, and shake everything. And then bring your knees to your chest, roll onto your side. I want you to push yourself away from the floor and not pull yourself up. So take your hand on the floor in front of you, letting your shoulder lead the way as you push yourself away from the floor to bring yourself up. We'll come into a seated position to warm up our body and to find our pelvic floor. So you could take if you have a pillow, you could open up your blanket so that it's on not a very thick fold here. Put your blanket there, and then if you have a pillow or something to sit on, take that and put it on your mat. And you're going to bring yourself onto your pillow or your folded blanket. So you could have two blankets here, and you could have a nice big fold in your blanket. And then you're going to cross your legs. And this is where a lot of people with knee flexion issues are able to get a bend in their body. And it's really important to keep your joints bending. And if you have arthritis or pain in your joints, we're less likely to move them. And it gets worse and worse when we don't move. So of course, finding what is appropriate movement for you. Here, the kneecaps are pointing to the side. So if they had flashlights on them, our knee flashlights would be pointing to the side. And that is what allows that bend to come in here, because that's actually a hip joint move when your legs are out to the side. That's the femur bone externally rotating, and that allows a little bit more range of motion in your knees. So for those of you with knee issues, try to sit in an externally rotated position, because then you can get a bend. And I've watched this or observed this for years with people, and it's always fascinating to me and good for knee health. All right, so let's come to this seated position here, and then we're going to warm up our body. And so I'd like you to think of the top of your pelvis as an opening, the bottom of your rib cage as an opening, like shaped like an oval, and then up here where the clavicle bones are, all the way around to where the shoulder blades are, this is also an oval opening. So think about, and then also where the pelvic floor is. So we're sitting on an opening, the top of our pelvis is an opening, the underneath of the rib cage is an opening, and then up here is an opening, and then at the base of the skull is an opening, right? So there's all of these areas in our body, these oval shapes, openings up our body. So let's really take ourselves in and get ourselves to move. It's called a Sufi. Bring yourself forward, lengthen yourself as much as you can. Inhale forward, and then start to move your body towards one direction so that you actually feel all your body weight there. And if you push your hand on the opposite thigh, you'll feel a stretch maybe on the side of your body. And when you come back, this is an important thing for me. So come back here. It's important for me to teach you this. Come back so you actually go back and forth side to side. You feel yourself on the back edge of your pelvis. You feel where your tailbone is. Now, if you have osteoporosis, especially osteoporosis, not as much with osteopenia, and then I want to say this is for all of us, because improper alignment, poor posture is part of what contributes to bone density loss and why we get all of the arthritis. That's where the arthritis, what makes arthritis are minerals that come out of our bones. Part of it is that. So I want you to really stay in nice alignment here. So move back and forth. I want you to feel the back edge of your pelvis. And with osteoporosis, you want to make sure this part of your spine, you don't collapse onto this part of your spine. So you don't let your lower ribs push strongly back towards the low back. You don't shorten this part of your body. I want you to be long here, yet have all your weight in the back part of the tailbone. And then when you come over to the side, come over here, you'll feel the stretch here. And then when you bring yourself forward, you're lifting yourself away from your pelvis. So you'll feel a stretch. When you come forward here and your body's forward, you'll probably feel a stretch on the side of the body, right by the hips.
Okay, it might sound crazy that I'm going so slow and teaching you this, but it's important to me that you move safely, that you maintain proper functionality in your body. And if you do have some dysfunction, I want to disrupt the dysfunction. Stop the laying down of more scar tissue, known as adhesions. Let's think of them as cobwebs. I want less cobwebs in your body because the more cobwebs there are, the harder it is to move. So really move thoughtfully here, keeping your rib cage as far away from your pelvis as possible. Don't crunch. Don't let yourself get shortened in your torso. When you feel like you've got it, you use your hands here to help with that length. And you'll see if you push down with the heel of your hands here and keep yourself really tall as you move around, you'll feel a delicious, hopefully delicious for you, stretch in your hip joints and in your back and in your lower spine. Close your eyes, match the breath with the movement. Inhale when you come forward. Exhale when you go back. Inhale when you go forward. Exhale when you go back. Inhale forward. Exhale back. No shoulder earrings. Don't let the shoulders creep up to be closer to the ears. Long neck, long torso. Go a little bit bigger for this last rotation. See if you could go farther away from the midline when you move yourself forward to the side and to the back. And then bring yourself back to center, nice and tall, slowly warming up the body, lubricating the body. Take an exhale. Inhale forward. To the side. Begin your exhale when you start to go back. Use the heels of the hands to keep the length in your body and to press when you move so you actually feel a deepening of the stretch. Inhale forward. Exhale back. Lovely stretch for the hips, the waist, the back, the spine. Feel what's happening in your body. One more circle. And then bring yourself back to center, sit nice and tall. Let's take the legs straight for a second to give your flexion of your joints a break, to allow the fluids to come back into the body. In one of my trainings, they said that when we bend the body like that, it's like kinking the hose. And then when we unbend, it's like a whoosh of the fluids in the body. Lymphatic fluids, blood, water. So I'm not sure what you experienced in that. I'm going to tell you that in my own body, I experienced a lot of spinal readjustments. And I even felt it down in my tailbone this time, which is very interesting for me because I don't know that I felt it that low before. But because I have a hip replacement on one side and a natural hip on the other, there's an asymmetry in my pelvis and communication is distorted because it's hard for plastic and titanium and ceramic to communicate the same way that a natural living bone would. And so I felt that. I also felt the adjustment up higher near my shoulder blades with that spiral. And of course, for me, more in one direction than the other. So this really does focus a lot on posture and alignment, which is really important for us. Okay, you're going to take your legs and then I want you to come position again of crisscross, But this time I'd like you to pick it up and put it behind the other leg. And it may feel a little weird for you to do this because it's probably not the natural way you cross your legs, but I'd like us to do that. And notice what you notice when you come here. Notice if there's tension that comes into the knees, tension that comes into the hips, or tension somewhere else in the body. So just feel that, experience it. For joint health also, it's good to raise your awareness on how you stand or sit so you can actually balance out the sides of the body and try not to do the same thing all the time. Let's just do something here. Take your arms to the side and then fold your arms. Look down, see what forearm is in front, and try to switch. Try to put the other forearm in front. And notice how hard that is to even see what it's like to cross your arms the other way, because we always cross our arms this way, the way we go. And so to actually try to do it the other way is almost weird, right? Okay. So that was the Sufi grinds. Now we're going to move the spine. So hold on to your shins or right below the knees. And let's do extension. Lift your heart, lengthen your spine. Feel the tailbone pushing into the surface you're sitting on. Open your throat. Look across the room a little higher than eye distance or eye level. And then that's your inhale. On your exhale, contract your core. So draw in your core, hugging your lumbar spine. Push your belly button towards your spine and rock back on your pelvis. So you feel yourself rocking back towards your tailbone. Inhale, open your throat, stretch your body in your extension, back bend. Exhale, lower body really tilts backwards, adding flexion mostly to the lumbar spine. Inhale, stretch, lower ribs pull away from the pelvis. Exhale, rock back onto the back edge of your pubic area, your pelvic bone area. Inhale forward and rock back to your tailbone. Inhale. Try to stretch here. Don't make this a casual move. I want you to stretch your tissue, stretch your body glove. Come forward into your extension. We need more of this. Inhale, take your keep your body in this shape. So keep the spine there. Inhale. Lower ribs are drawing away from the pelvis. Head is up higher than eye height. And one more. Stay here. And then go ahead and bring yourself back to center. That was flexion and extension. Let's do lateral, side to side. Feels good for you. Be tall as you do it. If the shoulders don't like to lift up too high, you could take your hand on your shoulders when you go side to side. What I'd like you to do is keep your arm alongside your body when you do this. Don't let your arm go too far forward. Visualize you were in front of a plane of glass and you took your hand as if you were wiping the window, cleaning the window with a cloth sprayed with, let's be natural here, vinegar, as opposed to chemicals like other products. And if you even let your head, your eyes look up so you see the sky in front of that hand. Adding a little bit more movements here, maybe a little extension into the upper spine. Cervical rotation in the neck. Go a little farther away from yourself so you go a little deeper. This feels delicious to me. And then bring yourself back to center. I had to get one more in there. Legs are straight. We're going to do rotation now. Let's take the soles of the feet together in Bada Kanasana. Inner thighs are getting involved here. And this will be a little bit more locking the pelvis into position here. So take your hands here. Let's let your head go, just your head side to side. Just the head, not the shoulders yet. Now we're going to let the shoulders go too, and even the hands to try to look behind you. Press your heart forward. Be nice and tall when you do this. Feel the side waist muscles, the low back muscles. Trying to look directly behind yourself if you can. And then bring yourself back to center. Hold on to your knees, lift your heart, and bend at your hip. You're not bending your back. That's important. Push your feet into the ground. Hold on to your ankles or your lower leg bones. And draw your heart forward, bending at your hip, not at your spine. It's not about how close you get to the ground. And then go ahead and bring yourself out. Let's take our legs really wide here and come to the very front of your prop, whatever it is you have. Come to the front of it if you folded a blanket or you're sitting on pillows, and then bring your legs really wide here. Bring your hands onto the floor so you could push down and be nice and tall in your spine when you come into this position. If you want to bring your torso forward, it's with a long spine that you walk your hands forward. You're not rounding, you're not trying to get closer to the ground. You're trying to bend deeper in your hip joint and stretch the muscles of the inner thighs, the adductors, and these muscles attach to the inner knee joint here on either side. And so sometimes tightness in these muscles can have an effect on the joint of the knee and of the hip joint. So having nice, limber inner thigh muscles is important. Bringing yourself forward, feeling what feels appropriate to you. And then if you'd like, you can actually rotate your trunk. So come nice and tall here, lengthen spine, and then rotate by drawing the lower ribs over towards one leg. When you get there, keeping your spine nice and long, you could reach towards that leg. Make sure you have length in between your lower ribs and your pelvis. So you're not rounding and trying to get down closer to your leg here. You are laterally bending your body with rotation. So there's a gentle pulling on the ribs here, which will create a little bone building stimulation for ribs. You may feel that rotation, the rotational muscles of the low back as well. So nice tall body as you rotate, and then you flex at the hip joint. Deep breaths down to your belly. And then bring yourself up. Unwind your spine. Hands are on the floor. You're going to rewind your spine, adding rotation right underneath the ribs. That's where 80% of the rotation in the spine occurs, right here where the low back and the middle back meet. Right where L1 and T12, thoracic 12, lumbar 1. So you rotate over that opposite leg with length. If you want to be coming closer to the leg, it's bending at the hip joint. So if there was a raw egg here in between your low belly and your top thigh, you're trying to press towards that upper muscle to squish your egg, to crack your egg. Press your hands down, get nice and tall. Deep breaths down to your belly. And then take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself back up. Let's take the legs forward. Shake the legs. Point your toes pretty strong so you feel a stretch in the top of the feet. And then flex really strong, pulling the toes back towards you. You feel that going to the back of your legs. Sit nice and tall. And if you need, reach down. Actually, if you don't need, let's do this. Reach down and grab a hunk of flesh to lift your buttock muscles back so you feel your sits bones. And that actually helps to establish you in your pelvis and then establish that nice alignment while you sit here. Take your hands down alongside your body because this is posture work, sitting here, and we're focusing on our feet here. Inhale to point, exhale to flex. Inhale to point, exhale to flex. Inhale, point, exhale, flex. One more point, one more flex. Stay here. Bring one arm up, bring the other arm up. Sit nice and tall. Push your pelvis into the floor. Hug your lumbar spine with your core. Push your belly back towards your spine. Push your hands back, push your head back. Be growing right out of your pelvis. And then center of the head, as if the puppeteer was lifting you up. You get 1 inch taller. Shoulders stay away from the ears. Push the hands back. Push your legs into the ground. That'll also help to establish that support of posture. Take one more breath. And then slowly, slowly, slowly bring yourself down. Shake your legs, shake your legs. Let's come into a crisscross leg position. We're going to do a little awareness here on the pelvic floor, raising your awareness. I find sometimes it's easier to do this when we're in a seated position. So we're going to focus on pelvic floor, what you're sitting on the base of your body with the opening. There's an opening in the base of our pelvis. And the musculature that helps to hold up everything above, right? All the organs, everything. There's a lot of downward pressure with gravity. And then depending on what's going on in your spine and what's going on in your posture, there could be excessive force pressing down onto the pelvic floor. So pelvic floor health becomes really important for many reasons. Let's talk about the fact that we want to be happy and healthy and not have pain or suffering and be able to support our low back so that we minimize low back discomfort. And then also, as we age, so as we leave our 30s, there's a muscular degeneration called sarcopenia, and that happens as well in the pelvic floor muscles. So we want the integrity of our pelvic floor to support us, to hold us up, to maintain the integrity of posture and alignment, which is important for bone health, to keep the minerals in the bones where they belong. And when we're off alignment, that contributes to bone density loss. So really this whole pelvic floor, like the base structure, like the foundation. And then of course we have that aspect of incontinence and urination, and that's other muscles that are down there as well, urethra. And so just let's like work on tonifying this lower part of the body. And when we're seated, we could feel it with the weight down. So it's a lifting action. It's a towards center and a lift, a towards center and a lift. So you could think about lifting a silk scarf off the floor. The sides would gather into the center and they would lift up as you pull that silk scarf away from the floor. Or you could think about drawing up a strand of pearls that's right along the front of your spine, a strand of pearls that you're going to draw up, 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 holding onto a pearl, lift up, pearl, lift, pearl, lift, pearl, lift, pearl, lift, if that visual works for you. Or you could think about a zippering action. And you think about drawing towards center and then zippering up. And as you zipper up, the fabric above, the zipper above goes together as it comes up. So it's an in and a lift. So whatever visual works for you, the silk scarf, the strand of pearls, the zippering action, thinking about a zipper at the base and your zipper, 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 zipper. You had to suck in your tummy so you could zipper, zipper, zipper on a pair of tight pants. And then one last one, if that's too challenging, here's another visual, is a tube of toothpaste, where right down here, your tube of toothpaste, and all your toothpaste is here. And you want it to be up here underneath your ribs. So right now, try to squish your toothpaste and then push it up under your ribs. Now for me, that gives a lot of correction. There's a correction of my posture. I even felt my spine, my upper spine up here, my shoulder blades. I felt a corrective aspect of really contracting the tube of toothpaste. So whatever it is for you, we're going to do 5 of them. 5 lift, contract and lift up with the silk scarf, the zipper, the strand of pearls, or the tube of toothpaste. Okay, we're gonna do 5, and we're gonna do it at the end of the exhale, because that's the way it's taught in yoga, that you take an inhale and then you take an exhale, and as long as you can exhale is when you activate your pelvic floor. So 5 of them, all right? Let's prepare, close your eyes, drop down into your pelvic floor so you could feel. Take a big exhale. Let's begin. Inhale, down to your pelvic floor. Exhale, release. And activate. Silk scarf, zipper, strand of pearls, or tube of toothpaste. Until you can't hold your breath out any longer, then you would take an inhale and an exhale, and then activate. If you want to continue on, you continue to do a couple of more. Really feel a deep contraction and a lift in the lower body. Feel a movement away, a lifting away from what you're sitting on, and a lift in your torso. And then let everything go. Bring your awareness to your eyes as you allow your eyes to open themselves. Really important to keep the integrity of the muscles of the lower torso. So whenever you can, find the time to do a couple of pelvic floor movements. That's the base of your core. All right, we're going to come down onto the ground. So take your seat away from you. Let's get your blanket. Because we are going to do a core sequence, let's warm up our core muscles by doing a plank pose. And the plank pose really fires up the whole front of the body. So with the plank, you can choose to do the full plank. You can choose to do the modification with the lower legs on the ground, or you could come down onto your forearms if you have wrist issues and you don't want to put extra weight on your wrists. So whatever you're going to do, let's get ourselves ready. It's good to have your knees supported with a blanket to begin. And then you're going to bring your hands onto the ground underneath your shoulders so you're nice and stable. Point your fingers are forward, spread your fingers, and then push your fingers into the floor. Take one foot back and then take the other back, or do whatever version of plank you're going to do. And then if you push your body weight back, especially if you're standing on your toes, your feet, make sure your weight is evenly distributed. Bring your awareness to your tailbone, to the sacrum, to the 5 lumbar vertebra as you activate your pelvic floor here. So a little lift of your pelvic floor, and then of the core, pushing the belly back towards the spine. Lengthen your spine and your ribs. Lengthen the neck. So make sure your head is not higher than your body, and it's also not drooping. Nice tall spine. Push your fingers into the floor. So you distribute the weight that's in the hands, and then really press where the fingers meet the palms into the floor. Push away from the floor with the hands. Push away from the floor with the feet. Bring your awareness to your pinky toes. Press them into the ground. All the feet, push the heels back. And then take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself down. So that was 1:20. I'm not sure if you were able to stay up the whole time, but plank pose is a great way to maintain a lot of muscular strength, going against the grain of aging and of sarcopenia. And because it really targets a lot of muscles, it's a really good way to do a lot of things at one time. Light many candles with one flame. Warm many hearts with one smile. So bring the blanket onto the ground. Feel your core there. I know my core feels nice and warm. And I'm definitely gonna say nice and warm because I like that. So we're gonna need our block. Then you're gonna bring yourself to the side. Let's take ourselves down. You're also gonna need your strap. I'm gonna use the strap here for something. So have the blanket underneath your head. Let's take the arms out to the side. Now, the higher up the arm bones are, keeping the hands on the ground, for those of you that have a lot of range of motion in your body, or if not, you may need to have your arms a little lower or unbend your elbows and have your arms out to the side. So choose whatever is appropriate for you. Walk your feet wider than your body, but not quite the distance of the mat. Keep the soles of the feet on the ground as you gently begin to bring your knees side to side. So not too much here, side to side. And start to feel the waist area, the lower ribs, feel that stretch. And then start to let the soles of the feet come off as your knees go a little farther to the sides. Feeling, of course, that it's appropriate, whatever range of motion you're doing. Try to let this remain in the sides and maybe the front of the body, not so much in the back of the body. So if you keep the tushy cheeks on the ground, and especially the sacral area, you'll be able to keep your back nice and safe. And actually, you're going to do some deeper work, deeper stretching when you keep the back on the ground. So try not to let the back, because when the back goes up, when the tushy goes off, you start to lift your body off, you start to go into your low back. And a lot of people have issues with the low back. So let's try to not tilt our pelvis too much here so that we're actually stretching more muscles that mobilize the hips. And then bring yourself back to center. Take your feet really wide here. So the heels could be on the mat and the toes are off. Let yourself go side to side. Now for me, when my legs go over, I definitely feel the back of my hip joint, the posterior hip capsule. When my legs go out to the side, I feel a little bit of the inner thigh. I also feel this up here in the waist. My leg goes into the side. I feel the front of my hip. I feel my psoas. I feel my obliques. So the core, the hip flexors. Try to feel that in your body. The next time your legs come over to the left, leave them there. Let your head go to the right. Lift your right hand off and stretch your body glove. Deep breaths down to your belly. And then bring yourself back up to center. Let's let the legs go over to the right. Let your head go to the left. Lift the left hand up and stretch your left side body. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's walk the feet together. Knees in and rock side to side. So we're going to do some core awareness here. I'd like you to take your block, bring your block between your knees. The hands can go down alongside the body, palms are in the ground, or you could come into that scarecrow position here. And then walk your feet to their block distance. Squeeze the block a couple of times pretty strongly so you feel the activation of the midline of the body.
Now, when we squeeze the block and activate the adductors, what comes next is pelvic floor and then core. So the action of pressing the knees together could begin this contract and lift state. So I'd like you to do a couple of pelvic floor or total core awareness here. So as you bring your knees together, you start to squeeze, feel the contraction coming up. You get to the bottom of the pelvic area, feel that in lift, like strand of pearls or zippering up your midsection all the way up to underneath the ribs, and then release, squeeze and lift, and then release. Let's get the pelvic floor to actually, and the core to actually tilt the pelvis backwards, which flattens the low back into the floor. So you're going to inhale to soften, and as you exhale, squeeze, contract, lift, press belly to spine, press the low back into the floor. Inhale to release. Exhale, squeeze, activate, pelvic tilt, flatten low back. That adds flexion to lower lumbar. Inhale to release. Exhale. And then release. Take your hands back behind your head, elbows are out to the side. Press your elbows into the ground. Feel how that activates the shoulder area, the upper back muscles. Take an inhale. As you exhale, squeeze the block, energy up to pelvic floor, activate core, press the belly towards the spine, flatten the low back, lift the upper body off the floor. Inhale to lower. Exhale, squeeze the block, activate pelvic floor, core, posterior tilt, flatten the low back, lift the upper body off. Slowly in and slowly out. Exhale to activate. Inhale to lift down. Exhale to lift up. Inhale to lift down or let go down, whatever you want to say, going back towards the ground. For those without osteoporosis, you could come into a deeper flexion. As you exhale, activate pelvic floor, core, posterior tilt of the pelvis, lumbar flexion, flatten the low back, lift the upper body off the floor. If you don't have osteoporosis, you could bring your chin to your chest, your elbows towards each other, and your elbows closer to your knees. A deeper flexion. Inhale to lower. Let me say something about that. With osteoporosis, you don't want excessive force on the front of your spine. So don't come into more flexion in the upper body if you have osteoporosis. Be fine with being out to the side. That's a lot of core work still. You're not missing anything. Inhale, exhale, squeeze the block, activate pelvic floor, core, posterior tilt, lumbar flexion, flexion coming to thoracic to cervical. Inhale to lower. One more. Stay here. Either elbows are towards each other or elbows are out to the side. Gentle pulses on the block. Reactivate everything. Press that low back into the floor. And then lower down. Now we're going to strengthen the structural parts. We're going to strengthen ourselves isometrically, where we, in the natural held position, we're not going to tilt our pelvic floor. We're not going to tilt our pelvis. We're not going to flatten the low back. Now we're actually going to feel the pressure of the sacrum, the back of the spine where the tailbone and sacrum is. We're going to feel that pressing into the floor. We're going to feel the activation of the core. We're going to hug the lumbar spine, leave the lumbar spine alone off the floor. Don't tilt your pelvis, and then lift the upper body off the floor. So we're going to do a nice, strong isometric hold to strengthen our spine, our posture, and our alignment. Take a big exhale. Big inhale. Squeeze the block. Activate the inner thighs. Activate the pelvic floor and the core. Press the sacrum into the ground. and lift the upper body. You're going to not rise up as high. That's okay. Inhale to lower. Exhale, squeeze the block, activate pelvic floor, activate core, lift the upper body. Inhale to lower. Exhale, squeeze block, pelvic floor, core, lift the body. Keep the elbows out to the side. Exhale to lift. Inhale to lower. Last one. Squeeze the block, activate pelvic floor, core, stay here. Gentle pulses on the block. Pelvic floor and core is activated. Elbows are out to the side. And inhale to lower. All right. Take your hands behind your head. Let's bring the left leg up towards the sky. Bring the right hand onto the right thigh. Keep the left hand behind the head. Open up your palm to support your head. Let's take an exhale and an inhale. Now squeeze the block, activate pelvic floor and core. Lift your body straight up at first. Slide the hand up towards the knee and then rotate the trunk by pointing the left elbow towards the outside of the right kneecap. Keep your head looking up. Inhale to lower. Exhale, activate, squeeze the block, activate pelvic floor and core, rotate the trunk, slide the hands up. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lower. Exhale to rise. Inhale, lower. Squeeze the block, exhale, pelvic floor, core, stay here. Gentle pulses, elbow points towards the outside of the right knee, right fingertips up towards the right kneecap. Inhale to lower, let your knee go down, take a break. Core, spinal support, quadriceps, hip flexors. Take the right hand behind the head, open up the hand, support the head. Bring the right leg up into the sky, squeeze the block, flex the right foot, left hand goes on to left thigh. Take an exhale and an inhale. Exhale, squeeze the block, activate the pelvic floor, activate the core, lift your upper body straight up, and then rotate the trunk. Right elbow points towards the outside of the left knee. Left fingertips are up the left leg. Inhale to lower. Exhale, contract, squeeze the block, pelvic floor, core, rotate.